There is a truth so soft it cannot be shouted, so powerful it cannot be denied. You do not need to hope for what is already yours. You need only to assume the truth of your being. Assume it the way the sun assumes its rising, the way the ocean assumes its depth, the way the stars assume their right to shine. Hope waits for something to arrive, but assumption knows it has already come. And the moment you assume that you are worthy, you awaken the divine within you, not in arrogance, but in remembrance. In that holy stillness, beyond striving, beyond begging, beyond needing, you arrive. You were never meant to plead for love, for abundance, for healing. You were meant to claim them not as entitlements of ego, but as birthrights of spirit. The lilies of the field do not hope to be adorned. They bloom in the knowing that they are already adorned by the source of all life. The birds of the air do not wake with anxiety. They sing because they assume the sky will hold them. You too are meant to live like this, not reaching, but resting, not hoping, but knowing, not performing, but embodying. To hope is to place your dreams at a distance. To assume is to close that distance with faith. This is not the faith of wishing, it is the faith of alignment, of walking as if it were already done, because in the mind of the infinite, it already is. Time is not linear in the realm of spirit. Every possibility already exists, suspended in sacred stillness, waiting not to be created, but to be claimed. And when you assume your divinity, your wholeness, your worthiness, you step into the stream of what already is. You merge with the current of your highest self. This is not a denial of the world. It is a refusal to be ruled by its illusions. It is the quiet revolution of awakening, where you stop living as a seeker and begin to live as a knower. The Tao says, he who knows does not speak, he who speaks does not know. But you, beloved soul, are being called into a new knowing, not of words, but of embodiment, not of concepts, but of being. You are being invited to shed the identity of the one who needs to be fixed and assume the identity of the one who has always been whole. Assume peace, not when the world is calm, but when your breath returns to its natural rhythm. Assume love, not when another offers it, but when you remember that you are its source. Assume abundance, not when the numbers align, but when you recognize that true wealth is your capacity to give, to create, to trust the flow. And assume healing, not as a future goal, but as a present permission. Healing does not wait for proof, it begins with belief. The body responds, not to fear, but to the frequency of faith. Do not beg the universe for what you are. You are not a beggar at the gates of heaven. You are heaven remembering itself in form. You are not a seeker knocking on the door of truth. You are the door, already open, already shining. Every time you say, I hope it will happen, you affirm its absence. But every time you say it is done, you shift the entire cosmos in your favor. Not because you control the universe, but because you have ceased resisting it. What you assume, you embody. What you embody, you attract. What you attract, you become. This is not magic, it is metaphysics. The laws of energy, consciousness, vibration. The essence of all spiritual truth is that what you believe, you become. And the deepest belief is not spoken, it is lived. It is assumed in every breath, every step, every quiet yes to the present moment. When Jesus said, ask and you shall receive, he did not mean to plead. He meant to ask in faith and then walk as though you have already received. Because in the eyes of God, you already have. You are the creator of your state of being. And your state of being is the mold into which reality pours itself. Change your assumption and you change your life, not by force, but by frequency. Not by effort, but by alignment. And the only way to assume the truth is to stop assuming the lie that you are separate, the lie that you are unworthy, the lie that you must wait to become enough. Enoughness is not a destination, it is your original home. The soul never hopes it remembers. It doesn't strive, it allows. It doesn't doubt, it abides in truth. And that truth is, you are already what you long to be. You are not on a journey to earn your light, you are on a journey to uncover it. To strip away every falsehood that said, you are not. To burn through every illusion that whispered, one day, that day is not coming, that day is now. The awakening does not arrive with lightning or thunder, it arrives in the quiet assumption of truth. Let your life be a mirror of your inner certainty. Walk as one who knows, not because the world told you, but because your soul cannot forget. Assume that the universe is on your side, and it begins to conspire in ways your logic could never predict. Assume that you are loved, and love begins to greet you in every glance, every breeze, every sacred silence. Assume that you are enough, and every circumstance that once echoed your lack begins to fall away like shadows at sunrise. There is no need to chase. There is no need to hope. There is only the sacred art of assumption. Walk not with the question, but with the answer already alive in your step. Say not, I hope I will be, but I am. Let your life become an embodiment of the divine certainty that what you are seeking has already been given, not outside you, not in some future chapter, but here, now, in this breath, in this being. And so you rise not with urgency, not with noise, but with the quiet assurance of one who remembers. You remember that you are not a visitor in this life, here to earn your place. You are an extension of the infinite, an echo of the divine, a wave from the great ocean of being. And in that remembering, there is nothing left to prove. The proving ends when the knowing begins. The performance dissolves when the presence returns. And what remains is sacred, softer than thought, deeper than identity, more lasting than any title you could wear. Assume your power, not the kind that conquers, but the kind that liberates. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands stillness. You see, the most powerful energy in the world is not force, it is presence. When you walk into a room with the assumption that you are whole, the room shifts, not because of your words, but because of your frequency. Not because of what you say, but because of what you are being. And being is always louder than doing. The soul doesn't shout, it emanates. This is the turning point, not when the world bends to your will, but when your will bends to the knowing that all is already well, that you don't need to chase what is already yours, that you don't need to be better in order to be divine. You were divine when you were born. You were divine before the world gave you a name, before you were praised, before you were criticized, before the masks, before the shame, before the striving. Underneath it all, your essence remains untouched. Assume it now, not when it's easy, not when the storm passes, but in the very center of the storm. Assume peace when the world offers noise. Assume joy when circumstances tempt sorrow. Assume trust when doubt pounds at the door. This is not spiritual naivety, it is spiritual mastery. To choose your vibration regardless of appearances. To stand in truth when illusion seduces. To assume the light even when shadows dance across your vision. And here lies the paradox. The less you need to be seen, the more clearly you shine. The less you grasp, the more freely life flows. The less you seek validation, the more magnetic your energy becomes. Because assumption is not about arrogance. It is not a mask you wear. It is a vibration you carry. It is what happens when you finally stop arguing with your divinity. When you stop auditioning for what has already been granted. When you walk into every moment not with fear of rejection, but with the quiet certainty of belonging. You belong. You have always belonged. The breath that moves through you is not yours by accident. It is the breath of the cosmos. It chose you. Not for punishment, not for performance, but for participation in this miracle called now. And this now, beloved soul, is where your power lives. Not yesterday, not someday, now. So begin. Begin again if you must. But begin from the assumption that you are not behind, not broken, not lacking. Begin from the sacred knowing that nothing real can be lost, that everything essential is already within, that the essence of who you are is not waiting for permission, it's waiting for presence. Show up to your life not with apology, but with reverence. Walk not as a seeker, but as one who has found and now lives to remember. Assume your healing. Assume your beauty. Assume your enoughness with every breath. Not because the world confirms it, but because the soul never needed confirmation. It only needed your attention, and now you are listening. From the first moment your heart began to beat, before language, before thought, before memory, there was already an intelligence living you, breathing you, being you. That intelligence is not interested in your performance. It does not measure your worth in titles or tasks. It knows you as itself. It does not hope that you will awaken. It assumes you will, because awakening is not a miracle reserved for the worthy. It is your nature. It is not a reward, it is a return. And you return not by becoming more, but by releasing what you are not. You release the need to earn your being. You release the fear that you are not ready. You release the belief that you must be fixed before you are free. You see, the ego waits for proof, but the soul walks by light, not the light of evidence, but the light of knowing, the kind of knowing that blooms in silence, the kind that cannot be explained, only felt, the kind that whispers in the middle of the night, you are already home. When you walk in assumption, you do not walk faster, you walk deeper. You begin to see through the veil of appearances. You see that pain is not a punishment, but a portal. That loss is not a failure, but a clearing. That delay is not denial, but divine choreography. You stop reacting to the surface and begin responding to the truth beneath it. You stop negotiating with life and start dancing with it. And in that dance, you are no longer a puppet of circumstance. You are a partner with the infinite. Assume and you create, not from the mind's desperation, but from the soul's remembrance. Assume and you open, you soften, you receive. You allow the river of life to carry you without resistance. Not because you are weak, but because you finally understand what real strength is. Strength is not control, it is surrender to what is real. It is not tightening your grip, it is loosening your identity until only presence remains. You do not need to hope that you are loved. You are love learning to see itself in every reflection, every hand you've held, every tear you've shed, every stranger you've smiled at, every act of forgiveness. These are not random. They are the soul's signature. They are reminders that you have always known the way home, even when your feet were tired, even when your voice trembled, even when your faith grew thin. And in the moments when you forgot, when you bent under the weight of doubt, you were still held, still guided, still wrapped in the arms of an unseen presence that does not hope you'll make it but knows you already have. Not because of what you've done, but because of who you are, who you've always been, who you will always be beneath every mask, every name, every lifetime. You are the eternal breath breathing itself into form. You are the silence that sings beneath the noise. You are not the storm, you are the space that holds the storm. There is a sacred current running through your life. You do not need to control it. You need only to trust it. Assume that it is guiding you, even when doors close, even when hearts break, even when the map falls apart in your hands, especially then, because it is in those moments of surrender that you finally taste the truth, that life has never abandoned you. That grace is not a reward for perfection, it is a companion for the broken. It is the soft hand that lifts you when you have nothing left to lift yourself. It is the quiet presence that stands with you when hope is no longer enough. So stand now, not in defiance, but in trust. Stand not as one waiting for the world to tell you who you are, but as one who has remembered that you are a creator, not a victim, that you are a soul, not a story, that you are the observer, not the condition, the awareness, not the circumstance. You are not here to react, you are here to radiate, not because you are above pain, but because you are deeper than pain. Not because you do not struggle, but because you do not identify with the struggle. The struggle is part of your journey, but it is not your name. Your name is I am, your essence is being, your nature is divine. And once you assume this, truly assume it, everything begins to move differently around you. You speak differently. You breathe differently. You stop chasing validation because your worth is no longer in question. You stop explaining yourself because your being is its own explanation. You stop running because there is nothing to outrun. You are already here, and here is sacred. Let the world do what it must. Let others walk their own path. Your task is not to convince, it is to live. To be so anchored in your own light that you no longer require external confirmation to feel whole. The sun does not ask the sky if it may rise. The river does not seek permission to flow. And you, beloved soul, do not need to ask the world if you are enough. You are not waiting to become the light, you are remembering that you already are. This is the deep shift, the sacred reversal, the turning from hope to knowing, from seeking to embodying, from fear to trust. You stop trying to change the world from the outside in and begin changing it from the inside out by assuming your peace, your joy, your wholeness, your divinity, by becoming the frequency you once hoped to find. You stop looking for the miracle and start being the miracle. And in this being, there is no strain. There is only breath. There is only flow. There is only this moment, perfectly ordained, infinitely alive, and you here in the center of it all, remembering what cannot be taught, reclaiming what cannot be taken, becoming what you have always been. Do not hope for change, assume your power to be the change. Do not hope to be seen, assume your place in the great unfolding. Do not hope to be chosen, assume that you already are, by the very force that births stars and sings through your bones. You are not alone. You are not lost. You are not lacking. You are the breath of the divine made visible. You are the answer to your own question. You are the flame you've been chasing. And now you remember. The time for waiting has passed. The season of seeking is done. Now is the moment of becoming not something new, but something remembered. You were not born to inch toward the truth in measured, cautious steps. You were born to awaken in a single breath, to rise with the knowing that all of life is conspiring for your unfolding, that the ground beneath your feet does not merely hold you, it celebrates you, that the sky above does not merely stretch, it opens wide in recognition of your return. And so you return. You return to the still place, the sacred place, the silent center within you that has never known fear, never known lack, never known separation. This is the part of you that does not hope for peace, it is peace. It does not beg for love, it is love. It does not chase healing, it is the field in which all wounds dissolve. And when you live from this center, your life no longer spins in reaction, it radiates, it echoes, it blesses, without trying, without striving, like a flower blooming in its time, like a star burning without effort, like the breath that rises simply because it can. Do you see it now? How hope once served as a placeholder for your power. How you reached outward, not because you lacked, but because you forgot. You forgot the kingdom within, the light behind your eyes, the truth that cannot be spoken, but lives in the marrow of your being. And now, as that truth stirs once more, you begin to walk not as one who is trying, but as one who is remembering. You remember that you are the miracle. That you are not here to find worth, you are here to live it, to breathe it, to walk through the world as a living, moving, radiant declaration of enoughness. This shift changes everything. Your questions soften, your pace slows, your breath deepens. You stop rushing toward the future because you finally trust the present. You stop bargaining with life because you finally know who you are. And when you know who you are, you need not shout it. You need not defend it. You need not prove it to anyone, not even to yourself. The truth does not require your explanation. It only asks for your embodiment. And embodiment is where the sacred work begins. It is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. Real in your pain, real in your joy, real in your silence, real in your laughter. It is about living not as a curated version of yourself, but as the raw, unfiltered presence of what is. That presence is powerful. Not because it dominates, but because it dissolves everything false. It is the quiet storm that clears the path, the sacred fire that burns the mask, the oceanic presence that needs no permission to flow. When you live as this presence, your life begins to arrange itself in mysterious ways. Not because you have finally figured it out, but because you have finally surrendered the need to figure it out. You stop asking for signs and become the sign. You stop looking for answers and become the answer. You stop praying for light and become the source of it. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is not delusion, it is devotion to truth. And the truth is, you are not separate from the source. You are its expression. You are not a servant of love, you are its embodiment. You are not a visitor in this universe, you are its heartbeat in human form. So walk now as one who knows, not with swagger, but with sacredness, not with pride, but with presence. Let every step you take affirm the truth you have claimed. Let every breath you draw be a testament to the life that lives through you. Let your silence be loud with knowing. Let your gaze carry the weight of eternity. And when doubt arises, as it will, do not shrink, do not run, do not hope it goes away. Assume your center once more. Return to your breath, return to your being. Doubt is not your enemy, it is your initiation. It is the shadow that confirms the presence of light. And your task is not to extinguish it, but to see it, hold it, and love yourself anyway. Love yourself anyway. Love yourself in the confusion, in the mess, in the unpolished moments. Love yourself not as a project to fix, but as a temple to inhabit. Assume your own worthiness so completely that even your flaws feel sacred, so deeply that even your wounds begin to sing. And yes, there will be moments when the old voices return, the voices that say, "Who do you think you are?" The voices that whisper, "You are not ready, not enough, not yet." Smile at them, bless them, but do not believe them, for they are echoes of a time when you hoped. And you, my dear, have moved beyond hope. You are not hoping anymore. You are being. You are knowing. You are remembering. And remembrance is a holy act. It is how the soul reclaims its throne. It is how the light returns to the eyes. It is how heaven finds a home on earth, not in cathedrals, but in consciousness. Not in doctrines, but in presence. You are that presence. And this life is your altar. This breath is your offering. This moment is your miracle. So breathe it in, all of it, the beauty, the ache, the wonder, the not knowing. Breathe it in, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a vessel of the divine. And as you do, feel the quiet revolution rising within you. The revolution that says, I no longer need to hope for peace. I am peace. I no longer need to hope for love. I am love. I no longer need to hope for worth. I am the breath of God in motion. I am. You are, and you always have been. There is a sacred rhythm beneath all things, a pulse, an invisible current, an ancient heartbeat echoing through every leaf, every wave, every breath you take. And you are not separate from this rhythm. You are the note that completes the song. You are the silence between the syllables of the divine. You are the awareness that turns mere existence into sacred experience. And when you remember this, when you drop back into the knowing of your essential nature, you stop waiting for life to grant you peace. You stop hoping to be chosen. You stop rehearsing a version of yourself that you think is lovable. You exhale the performance and inhale your truth. This is where freedom begins, not in having the perfect story, but in finally releasing the need to explain it. Not in reaching the summit, but in realizing that every step has always been holy, even the missteps, even the stumbles, even the nights you thought you'd never rise again, especially those nights, because that's when your soul was closest. Not loud, not flamboyant, just present, just patient, just there. Assume that every tear you've ever shed was not a sign of weakness, but a river of remembrance washing away the layers that no longer served you. Assume that every delay was grace in disguise. Assume that every ending was the soul making room for something more aligned. This is not a philosophy, it is the truth. A truth so intimate, so tender, that it refuses to shout. It waits for you to slow down. It waits for you to unclench your fists. It waits for you to stop running long enough to realize there was never anywhere to run. You are not missing anything. You have never been late. You have never been lost. The destination has always been within, and the key has always been presence. Not passive resignation, but active alignment. A conscious choosing to live as though the miracle has already happened, because in the timeless realm of your soul, it has. The shift occurred the moment you stopped hoping for it and began living from it. To live from assumption is to stop knocking on the door and realize you are the house, to stop lighting candles in the dark and realize you are the flame. You stop pleading for light because you remember you are what lights the way. The world outside may still dance in confusion, but you carry clarity now. Not because your mind has all the answers, but because your being is finally at home in the questions. You no longer need certainty. You've become the sacred space that can hold uncertainty without collapsing. And this, beloved, is the way of the mystic, the one who walks through life not demanding clarity from the world, but emanating clarity into it. The one who does not beg for peace, but becomes its living embodiment. The one who does not chase meaning, but breathes meaning into every gesture, every glance, every mundane moment that suddenly becomes holy in their presence. Do not underestimate this power. The ego will tell you that power comes from being seen, being praised, being recognized. But the soul knows that real power comes from alignment, from quiet assumption, from the gentle audacity to live as though heaven is here, because it is. Not out there, not in some faraway reward system, but here, in this breath, in this moment, in this body you occupy and this path you walk. And as you walk, you begin to notice things you once missed. You see beauty where there was once only urgency. You see grace in the places where pain used to live. You see the divine not just in mountaintops and sacred texts, but in traffic lights and grocery lines and tired eyes that carry stories you'll never fully know. Life stops being something to survive. It becomes something to savor. You're no longer measuring moments, you're merging with them, because hope creates distance, but assumption creates intimacy. Intimacy with life, intimacy with yourself, intimacy with the present moment as it is not as it should be. And in that intimacy, the miraculous unfolds. Not in fireworks, not in dramatic revelations, but in the quiet miracle of being here, being real, being alive in a world that forgot how to slow down long enough to remember its soul. You are remembering now, not because I am telling you anything new, but because something inside you already knew. You knew that truth doesn't arrive, it is uncovered. You knew that love doesn't come and go, it is what remains when all fear is released. You knew that joy doesn't need a reason, it is your natural state when the mind softens and the heart opens. And now you live as that. You rise each day not with a checklist of how to earn love, but with the knowing that love is the ground of your being. You speak not to impress, but to connect. You give not to get, but because giving is your overflow. You create not to be noticed, but because the act of creation is its own reward. You walk through the world not hoping to be seen, but seeing everything more clearly. The sacred in the ordinary, the eternal in the fleeting, the divine in the details. You become, without trying, the lighthouse. The one who does not chase ships, but stands rooted in truth, radiating light, not for applause, not for recognition, but because it is your nature, and that is enough. Let this be the moment you stop asking if you are worthy and begin living as though worthiness was stitched into your very breath. Let this be the moment you no longer plead for peace, but instead breathe as if peace were the air itself. Let this be the moment you stop standing at the gate of your own life, waiting for the world to hand you permission, and instead step in. You have waited long enough. You have doubted long enough. You have whispered prayers into the night, hoping the stars would answer. And now, they do not with noise, but with light. Not with promises, but with presence. And that presence is not coming from the sky. It is rising from within you. You are not the echo of broken moments. You are the original sound of being. You are not the shadow of past decisions. You are the living truth unfolding in this breath. And there is no version of you more sacred than the one sitting here now, breathing this air, carrying this heart, walking this earth. You do not need to see the whole path. You only need to trust that each step you take from truth is its own arrival. You do not need the applause of the world. You need only the quiet approval of your soul. And your soul is already nodding, already whispering, yes, yes, beloved, this is it. This is the moment you stop hoping and begin assuming. Assume your light. Assume your place. Assume the throne within your own being, not to rule, but to remember. Because the one who hopes is the one who believes it is not yet time. But the one who assumes breathes with the rhythm of eternity. You have nothing to prove, no gate to unlock, no worth to earn. All has already been given. It is only your permission to receive that was missing, and now you give it with a sigh, with a surrender, with a sacred yes that vibrates through your entire being. Yes, to the life that is already yours. Yes, to the truth that cannot be revoked. Yes, to the light that does not flicker when storms arise. You do not hope for the sun to rise, you assume it will. You do not question the waves they come. You do not beg the stars to return, they arrive, night after night, without fail. So too is your essence. So too is your worth. So too is the love that breathes through your chest and guides your every step. You are the arrival you've been waiting for. You are the answered prayer you once whispered into the dark. You are the light you tried so long to chase. And now you see, you were never meant to chase it. You were meant to be it. And so you rise not by reaching, but by remembering. Not with force, but with faith. Not with hope, but with assumption. Because now, and now you are free. There is a power that lives within you, not in your titles, not in your history, not in the image reflected back at you from the world, but in the quiet sanctuary behind your thoughts, beneath your breath, between your heartbeats. That place, though often overlooked, is the origin of all miracles. It is where belief is not manufactured, but remembered. It is where the mind bows to the soul, and where the sacred art of training your thoughts begins not with control, but with surrender. You were not born with doubt in your heart. You were born with light in your eyes and a song in your spirit that sang of infinite possibility. The hesitation, the fear, the unworthiness, these are not your truths. They are shadows cast by a mind that forgot its source. And the mind, beautiful and wild as it may be, is but a servant, a mirror, a field. It will reflect back whatever seed you plant. If you sow limitation, it will show you walls. If you sow faith, it will part the seas. Training your mind to believe is not about painting over your fears with forced positivity. It is about returning to the wellspring of truth that has never left you. It is about remembering again and again that you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness beneath them. And in that awareness, you are limitless. This is not the belief born of intellect or logic. This is not the shallow confidence that rises and falls with circumstances. This is the knowing that lives in your bones, the sacred trust that the same force that orchestrates galaxies also orchestrates your life, that your desires are not random, they are the whispers of divine intention trying to rise through you. The mind does not create truth. It learns to attune to it. It becomes the receiver of what the soul has always known. And yet, how easily we forget. How quickly we trade our divine inheritance for the approval of the world, for the safety of smallness, for the illusion of control. The world taught you to be realistic, but realism, when rooted in fear, is just another word for resignation. Realism that denies your divinity is not realism, it is spiritual amnesia. To train the mind to believe is to walk through this world with eyes that see beyond appearances. It is to hear impossible and feel a soft smile rise in your chest. It is to live in alignment with a truth that may not yet be visible, but is already vibrationally real. You were not placed here to worship the seen. You were born to bring the unseen into form. Let the doubting voice come, but do not give it the throne. Watch it, bless it, but do not become it. That voice is not the enemy. It is the old self trying to protect you with fear. It is the echo of wounds that mistook safety for silence and comfort for hiding. But you are no longer here to hide. You are here to expand. There is a universe inside of you waiting to be believed in. A reservoir of strength, vision, courage, and clarity that does not come from trying harder. It comes from letting go. Letting go of the lie that you are separate from your source. Letting go of the idea that you must earn your worth. Letting go of the belief that the mind must have all the answers before you take the first step. Belief is a bridge. It does not guarantee the path will be easy, but it guarantees you will no longer walk it alone. Because when you believe from the soul, the entire universe rises to meet you. Doors you didn't see before begin to open. People you've never met feel drawn to your presence. Circumstances shift not because you forced them, but because you became a magnet for the frequency of your own truth. You were not made to live in doubt. You were not born to shrink yourself to fit into the fear of those who forgot their light. You are here to remember. You are here to remind the world, through the sheer clarity of your being, that belief is not fantasy, it is the language of creation. And the moment you choose to believe in what you cannot yet see, you begin to give it life. Let the mind be trained not by force, but by devotion. Feed it daily with truth. Bathe it in silence, ground it in the present. Speak to it with love. And when it strays, as it will gently return it home, again and again. This is the sacred discipline of the awakened soul. To believe not because the world tells you to, but because your spirit refuses not to. You are not just learning to believe in yourself, you are remembering that you are the very breath of God in motion. And when you remember this, belief is no longer something you do, it becomes something you are. You are not here to convince yourself of miracles, you are here to recognize that you already are one. You were not summoned into existence to doubt your light, but to allow it to shine so fully that others remember theirs in your presence. The training of your mind to believe is not a conquest, it is a return to what you've always known before the noise, before the wound, before the forgetting. Each time you doubt your worth, you are momentarily hypnotized by the world's illusion that value must be proven, but the soul knows better. The soul remembers the moment before time, where nothing was missing, where nothing was wrong, where everything simply was. And that stillness, that unshakable stillness, is still within you. You don't have to create it. You only have to remember that you never left it. Belief is not the voice that shouts the loudest. It is the whisper that persists when all others fade. It is the soft voice that says, keep going, not because you are guaranteed the outcome you want, but because you trust the outcome that serves your awakening. Your job is not to micromanage the universe, but to align yourself so deeply with truth that your very presence becomes a prayer. When you train your mind to believe, you no longer measure your life by what is seen. You begin to feel life through resonance. You stop asking, does this make sense? And start asking, does this feel true? Because the mind will always want evidence, but the soul moves by frequency. The mind analyzes, the soul knows. And when that knowing begins to guide you, you step into a rhythm that transcends control. You move with life instead of resisting it. You trust the detours. You honor the pauses. You stop needing to understand every step, because belief has taught you that peace is not the absence of questions, it is the presence of trust. There is a deeper intelligence guiding your life. It is the same intelligence that turns caterpillars into butterflies, seeds into forests, darkness into dawn. And that intelligence has never abandoned you. It breathes you. It heals you in your sleep. It nudges you through intuition. And when you finally surrender the need to figure it all out, you begin to feel it again, not as an idea, but as a living current moving through every breath. Let your faith become a sanctuary where doubt can rest without shame. Let belief be not a dogma, but a dance, a movement between what is and what can be. When the mind is trained in truth, it no longer wages war with reality. It becomes an instrument of alignment. And from that alignment, you speak not from fear, but from knowing. You act not from pressure, but from presence. You live not to get somewhere, but to be fully here. To train the mind to believe is not to trick yourself into fantasy. It is to align your thoughts with the deepest laws of the universe, laws that say you are not separate from life, but an expression of it, that what you are seeking is seeking you, that your desires are not random, but the seeds of your becoming, placed within you by the same source that created stars. And so you no longer ask, is it possible? You ask, am I willing? Willing to trust what you cannot yet see, willing to speak life into your dreams, even when the world tells you to be realistic. Willing to be so in love with truth that you'd rather fail in authenticity than succeed in pretense. Because the mind that is trained in belief does not need the world to understand. It does not need applause to feel worthy. It does not chase validation, for it has found its sanctuary within. That mind becomes quiet, not from force, but from reverence. It listens, it receives. It follows the invisible thread of joy and watches miracles bloom in the space where fear used to live. And you are ready for this. Not because you've mastered the path, but because you've heard the call. And the call is not to become more, it is to shed what is not you, so what has always been true can finally lead. Let the training continue, not with strain, but with stillness. Not with struggle, but with surrender. And let every breath be a reminder, you are not here to survive the world's disbelief. You are here to awaken the world by living what you believe. Training your mind to believe is not about reciting mantras to silence your fear. It is about becoming so rooted in truth that fear forgets how to speak. It is about creating such intimacy with the divine that disbelief becomes a foreign tongue your soul no longer understands. You see, belief is not the arrival at certainty. It is the surrender into mystery. It is the quiet assurance that even when your eyes cannot see the light, your heart still knows the sun will rise. There is an ocean of power within you, and belief is the vessel that allows you to cross it. Without it, you wander the shores of your own potential, watching ships sail off into the horizon of other people's dreams, all the while forgetting that the wind, the tide, the compass, they are already inside you. You are not missing the tools. You are only waiting to remember the captain. And what a remembering it is. Do you recall what it felt like to believe when you were a child, when the world was still enchanted? When you trusted the stars had something to say, when every shadow held a story, and the whisper of the wind felt like it carried messages meant only for you? That wasn't naivety, that was purity. That was unfiltered connection to the unseen, a mind not yet colonized by doubt, a heart still fluent in the language of wonder. Belief is a return to that sacred dialect. It is not childish, it is holy. And in this sacred return, your mind begins to unlearn what the world taught it about limitation. It begins to stretch like morning light across a quiet lake. It stops rehearsing the stories of failure and begins remembering the symphony of the soul. You are not your doubts. You are not your wounds. You are not the voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" That voice is a relic, a ghost of fear passed down from others who forgot their own light. And you, radiant soul, are here to break that inheritance. You are here to stand in your being so completely that even your shadow begins to shimmer with truth. Let your mind be trained not through pressure, but through presence, through waking each day and choosing again and again to believe not in what you see, but in what you feel beneath the surface. The mind will scream for proof. The soul will whisper trust. And in that whisper lives all the power of the cosmos. The Tao Te Ching tells us, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? This is the art of belief, not frantic movement, but sacred stillness, not chasing, but aligning. You do not force the flower to bloom. You prepare the soil, you offer the sun, you water it with love. And then, with sacred patience, you trust that life knows how to unfold. So it is with your becoming. Your mind, when left untrained, will race to the future, drag you into the past, flood you with imagined disasters. But when trained to believe, it becomes a sanctuary. It becomes the quiet temple where your dreams come to kneel, not in desperation, but in reverence. It becomes the still space through which the divine voice can speak clearly, without distortion. And oh, how clearly it speaks. It says, you are enough. Not tomorrow, not when they love you, not when the numbers align, but now, here, in this ordinary, sacred, miraculous now. Belief is not the denial of your humanity, it is the exaltation of it. It does not ask you to become invincible, it asks you to become real, to look fear in the eyes and walk anyway, to stand on the edge of what you've known and take the step that says, even if I fall, I trust the ground will rise to meet me, because it always does. The universe is not punishing you, it is responding to your vibration. Your frequency is the signal. Your belief is the transmitter. When you shift from fear to faith, from control to surrender, from hesitation to holy yes, life reorganizes itself to mirror your new state. It cannot not. This is not magic. This is metaphysics. This is spiritual law, just as certain as gravity. What you hold within, you draw without. What you believe, you become. What you honor, expands. And so the mind must become a sacred gardener, planting seeds not of what is probable, but of what is aligned with your highest knowing. Do not water your doubts. Do not prune your fears. Do not decorate the cage of disbelief and call it home. You are not meant to live behind bars made of other people's projections. You are meant to soar freely, wildly, with the wind of spirit in your wings and the fire of purpose in your chest. And when you fall, and you will let it be part of the rising. Let every stumble be sacred. Let every moment of forgetting be a deeper invitation to remember. The mind, like a child, must be guided gently but firmly back to truth. Do not scold it. Do not shame it. Teach it. Love it. Show it again and again that the path of belief is safer than the armor of doubt. You are safe here. You are safe in your own becoming. You are safe to trust the unseen. You are safe to walk by faith and not by sight. Jesus said, according to your faith, it is done unto you. Not according to your intellect, not according to your resume, but according to your faith, your ability to hold the vibration of truth, even when your eyes see evidence to the contrary. This is the spiritual athlete's path. Not a sprint, but a discipline. Not a doctrine, but a devotion. To train your mind to believe is to become a vessel so open, so ready, so surrendered, that life itself rushes in to fill you, not with noise, but with knowing. And when it does, you will no longer need to fight for your place. You will no longer need to convince or strive or compete. You will walk into every room as if you belong, not because you've been invited, but because you remember that your very being is the invitation. The divine has never needed permission to show up through you. Let this be the moment you say yes, not just in thought, but in frequency. Let your belief become a vibration that radiates through your cells. Let your posture shift. Let your gaze soften. Let your breath deepen. This is the body of belief, not rigid, but rooted, not tense, but alive. Feel the shift. You are not alone in this work. Every soul who has ever awakened has walked this path before you. The mystics, the sages, the prophets, the poets, all of them trained their minds not to follow the world, but to follow the divine thread that wove through their hearts, and now it weaves through yours. Can you feel it? That sacred pulse, that knowing without explanation, that still small voice rising now like incense from the altar of your being. It says you are here to remember. You are here to believe, not in a version of yourself shaped by fear, but in the you that God never stopped dreaming. There is a sacred rhythm beneath all things, a current that carries the faithful even when the path is unclear, even when the winds howl with the voices of old doubts. To train your mind to believe is to drop your anchor in that current, to trust that even when you are not steering, you are being guided, that the very act of believing is not a task, but a homecoming, and how exquisite the home you are returning to. It is not made of walls or timelines or perfection. It is not found in external mastery. It is built of presence, of trust, of the quiet knowing that you are not the one doing the believing, you are the belief itself. You are the vision dreaming itself awake. You are not trying to find faith. You are the frequency of faith, learning to recognize its own reflection. Every step you've taken, even the ones that felt like detours, were part of the choreography. There is nothing wasted in the divine economy. The heartbreak, the delays, the long nights of questioning, all of it was preparing you, softening you, making you ready to carry the weight of your own light. The world will always offer you reasons to doubt. It will shout statistics, remind you of your past, echo the limitations of others. But you are not here to repeat patterns. You are here to break them. You are not here to collect reasons why you can't. You are here to live as the exception that proves the truth. And the truth is this: the moment you believe differently, the world begins to respond differently. Not because the external changes instantly, but because your energy, the silent language beneath all things, has shifted. You no longer walk as someone begging life for permission. You walk as someone in partnership with it. That is the miracle. To stand rooted in uncertainty and still say, I trust. To walk through a storm and still feel warmth on your skin. To see the mountain ahead and know the strength is not in your legs, but in your soul. The mind may falter, but your being knows the way. And that knowing, soft, steady, unshakable, is belief. Let it live in you now. Let it move through your breath, through the way you enter a room, through the kindness in your eyes. Belief is not only what you say in your quiet prayers, it is how you show up when no one is watching. It is the frequency you carry into your relationships, your choices, your silences. It is the sacred yes humming beneath every I'm not sure. Do not wait until you are certain. Begin with what you feel. Begin with the flicker of warmth in your chest when you consider the possibility of more. Begin with the gentle ache that says there must be something deeper. That ache is not your weakness. It is your invitation. It is the soul knocking gently, asking, will you let me lead now? And when you say yes, not once, but again and again, you begin to live from the inside out. No longer measuring your worth by results, no longer timing your joy by outcomes. You begin to feel the sacred in the ordinary. You begin to realize that the miracle was never the destination, it was the decision to believe despite not knowing how. You do not have to fake it. You only have to allow the belief to rise like dawn through the cracks of your old narratives. Let it illuminate every story that told you you're not ready, you're too late, you're not enough. And let it replace those voices with something ancient and true. You are the one. You've always been the one. Now is the time. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is not self-inflation. It is self-realization. You are not claiming to be above anyone. You are reclaiming what has always been yours, your divine identity, your birthright to walk in faith. Because you were not sent here to live a small life. You were not sent here to make yourself palatable to the fears of others. You were sent here to radiate, to stand as a beacon of what is possible when one being says, I believe, not because I see, but because I am seen by something greater than me. And you are. You are seen. You are held. You are guided. And every time you forget, life offers you another reminder, a feather in your path, a stranger's smile, a moment of stillness so profound that time itself seems to pause and say, remember. So pause now, beloved soul. Breathe. Place your hand on your heart, not to calm it, but to commune with it. Feel the pulse beneath your skin. That rhythm is not random. It is the signature of your sacred design. It is the echo of Source singing through your body. It is the truth that no matter what the mind says, life believes in you. Now meet it with your own belief. Let the training continue, not as effort, but as devotion. Let your every thought become an offering. Let your silence become prayer. Let your being become the evidence of what belief can do when it is no longer resisted, but welcomed home. And from this place, everything changes. You were not created to merely survive. You were not spoken into being to endlessly wrestle with your mind or live at the mercy of your circumstances. You were created to remember, to awaken to the knowing that the mind is not your master, but your instrument. And belief is the music it was made to play. But the world, in its forgetfulness, taught your mind to hum a different tune. It taught you to repeat the chorus of not enough, to sing the lyrics of limitation, to echo the refrain of fear. And so your mind, untrained and untethered, began to follow the path of least resistance, clinging to what is familiar, even if it is false, grasping at what is predictable, even if it is painful. But there comes a moment sacred and still when the soul can no longer pretend, when the ache of disconnection becomes louder than the fear of change, when something ancient within you whispers, "This is not who you are. This is not why you came." And in that whisper lies the beginning of your liberation. Belief is the invitation to come home. It is the golden thread that leads you out of the labyrinth of your old identity. It does not yell. It does not demand. It simply waits for your willingness, for your quiet yes, for your sacred surrender. You do not need to know how. You only need to be willing, willing to pause, willing to feel, willing to question every voice that tells you you are small. That willingness is the crack in the armor where the light pours in. That willingness is enough. You have been taught to worship evidence. But what if the evidence you've been gathering is only a reflection of your old belief? What if the proof you cling to is not truth, but repetition? What if the world around you is not the limit, but the mirror? Change the mirror, and the reflection changes. The moment you begin to believe in what the eye cannot see, the universe responds. Not because it is reacting to your will, but because it has always been responding to your vibration. You are not convincing life to support you. You are remembering that it always has. Look around. The trees do not negotiate with gravity. The sun does not doubt its own rising. The ocean does not ask permission to be vast. They trust the law. They live in rhythm with something deeper. And so must you. You are not separate from nature. You are not an accident wrapped in skin. You are the sacred encoded into form. And belief is how you align with that sacredness. Not by effort, but by recognition. Not by striving, but by surrender. Surrender the old story, the one that says you're too late, too flawed, too broken. That story was never yours. It was handed to you by a world that profits from your doubt. And now, gently but firmly, it is time to set it down. You do not need to fight it. You need only stop feeding it. Stop rehearsing the limitations. Stop repeating the fear. Stop trying to belong in rooms that dim your light just to feel comfortable. Instead, listen. Listen to the quiet frequency beneath the noise. Listen to the way your body softens when you speak your truth. Listen to the way your heart pulses stronger when you imagine the life you came here to live. That is the compass. That is the divine guidance. The mind was always meant to serve. And so you train it not with rigidity, but with reverence. You don't wrestle your thoughts into submission. You bathe them in presence. You return again and again to the breath, to the now, to the sacred hum that says, I am held. And when the doubts rise as they will, you greet them not as enemies, but as guests. You say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I no longer build my house in fear. Let that be your new discipline. Not to control every thought, but to choose which ones you dwell in, which ones you amplify, which ones you allow to shape your energy. Because your energy is your offering. It is the silent sermon you preach with every breath. And when it is grounded in belief, true belief, soul belief, it becomes magnetic. People may not understand it. They may question you, but they will feel you. They will feel your stillness in the storm, your softness in the noise, your power in your peace. This is what it means to be trained in truth. Not to become invulnerable, but to become transparent to the divine. to be so open, so clear, so attuned that the light shines through you without resistance. You become the lamp, not the source of the fire, but its faithful keeper. And in that light, everything changes. Not instantly, not all at once, but deeply, truly, irrevocably. The people you attract shift. The choices you make align. The doors you knock on open, not because of force, but because of flow. Not because you manipulated the system, but because you remembered how it works. You are not here to hustle for your worth. You are here to embody your truth. You are not here to perform for love. You are here to become the presence of it. And belief, true belief, is the soil in which all of this grows. Tend to it daily, not with pressure, but with devotion. Speak kindly to your mind. Be gentle with your doubts. Be patient with your unfolding. You are not late. You are not lost. You are exactly where the next layer of truth is ready to reveal itself. You are not a mistake trying to become something better. You are a miracle remembering what has always been. And belief is how that remembering takes root. There comes a moment in the path of all awakening souls when the seeking quiets and the striving exhales, when the questions no longer demand answers, but simply dissolve into presence. And it is here, in this spacious awareness, that belief becomes not something you do, but something you are. The mind, once unruly, once terrified of the unknown, has now been shown the truth, that it is not alone, not separate, not in charge. It is a beloved servant to a deeper intelligence. It does not need to control the current, it only needs to float. It does not need to have it all figured out, it only needs to trust the river it flows in. This is not weakness, this is not passivity. This is power, power born of alignment, of surrender, of harmony with the unseen rhythms of life. This is what the masters meant when they spoke of faith that moves mountains, not a loud, boisterous faith, but a quiet, steady one. A faith that rests in the knowing that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and what is not meant for you cannot stay. The trained mind no longer panics in the pauses. It no longer fears the unknown. It meets each moment as sacred. It lets go of timelines. It releases comparison. It ceases to grasp at life like a drowning man and begins to float like one who trusts the sea. There is no need to rush, no need to force. You are already what you've been trying to become. The soil has been prepared. The roots are deep. The bloom is inevitable. And the world may still swirl in its chaos. It may still forget its divinity. It may still try to seduce you into fear. But you will remain anchored in the invisible.